Okay, so both the code on the left and the code on the right prints the numbers 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you can see line 6 says, on the left says print ln1, and then on line 8 it says print ln2, and then on line 10 it says print ln3. Okay, let's look at the one on the right because it's a little more complicated. So on line 5 it says int count gets 1, so I set the variable count to 1. Then on line 6 I print count. Then on line 7, I say count plus plus. So what that does is that adds 1 to count. So now count is 2. And on line 8, I print 2. And on line 9, I say count plus plus. So that adds 1 to count. Now count is 3. And then I print 3. And then on line 11, I say count plus plus. And so now count will be 4. And I think comparing between the one on the left and the one on the right, we can be like, yeah, for sure, these both print 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I've moved version 2 over to the left-hand side, so that one still is going to print the numbers 1, 2, 3. And I've put a new version on the right-hand side, that's version 3. And this one is going to use this new construct called a while loop, and you can see the base of that on line 6. But it's really going to do the same thing. The only difference is instead of just having a number and printing it and incrementing that count variable, we're also going to check that the count is less than 4. And we're going to make sure that the count is less than 4 before we do the body of that while loop. So I'm going to talk you through how the version on the right, version 3, works, but I'll highlight the corresponding line of code from version 2. So I say int count gets 1. Okay, so I set the variable count to 1. Then I check, is count less than 4? And count is 1, so it is less than 4. So I print count. And then I say count plus plus. Okay, so now count is 2. I get to the bottom curly brace on line 10 and I go back to the top. So I go back to while count is less than 4. So I'm going to say, is count less than 4? It's 2, so I'm going to print 2 and then say count plus plus. So now count will be 3. I get to the bottom, so I go back to the top and I say, while count is less than 4. Count right now is 3, so I go into the body of the loop and I say system.out.println count, so I'm going to print 3 and then I say count plus plus. So now count is 4. I go back up to the top of the while loop while count is less than 4. But now count is 4, so it's not less than 4. So I'm not going to do the body of the loop, and I'm done. And so we might not have noticed it on the version on the left, but we never printed the number 4. But when we ended, so after line 11 on the left, the variable count was 4. And similarly, that same thing happens in version 3 on the right. Now, maybe both of these versions seem like a lot of work just to print the numbers 1, 2, 3. But can you imagine I wanted to print the numbers 1 to 99? I could just change that 4 to be a 100. Can you imagine what a pain that would be to change the side on the left? I'd have to copy and paste a lot of lines of code. So this version on the right with a while loop is going to make it easier for us to change what number we start at and what number we end at. And we can even change how much we change our variable by in between each loop. So I could have added 2 every time instead of just adding 1. It's honestly not that helpful if all we're trying to do is print out 1, 2, 3. But these loops end up being pretty helpful. And we're going to use them a lot.